I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Becky, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. If we could take a second to look at the agenda, please.
Motion to approve the agenda is written.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. The next agenda item is the approval of the minutes from the March 7th, 2023 regular meeting and the April 25th special called meeting. Approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes of March and April.
Okay. Larry, and then Mike seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the next agenda item, old business. Item A is a joint resolution between Pickens and Dawson County. If you will look in your packet prepared by Stacy for tonight, it is the first page after the agenda. And Stacy, did you want to give us a little bit of a history, or Phil, one of y'all?
As you can see by the resolution, as y'all know, Big Canoe's mailboxes are all on the Pickens County side. And so there's a little bit of confusion with the residents in Dawson County having a Jasper, Georgia mailing address. And so the resolution is proposed to help alleviate some of that confusion.
Okay.
There's another page for the Dawson County Board to sign as well. I don't know if that's in your package or not, but there'll be two. We don't have this approved by Dawson County yet. We wanted to let y'all
Look over it.
tell us what questions you have or comments, and then we'll send it to them.
So that would be the next step, is for us to basically approve what we have here for you to forward over to Dawson County.
Basically approve the form, but we're not going to pass it today. Let y'all consider the form of it, and then if you find it acceptable, we'll send it to Dawson County and go from there.
And Mike, I'll get you a copy of all this.
Okay.
Originally, we drew up the resolution, we sent it to their attorney made some changes, sent it back to us, and then this is what we're gonna send back to them.
How far apart were we with our minor changes? Okay, all right.
These are not really reflective of those changes. This is just kind of a new approach to it. But I think we'll see what they say.
Okay.
How is the post office dealing with all this? Is the real problem we have is that people are getting confused as to where to go register to vote?
People get confused, registered to vote, but mainly the reason that we decided last year to do this joint resolution was because we wanted something uniform between the two counties, since we share this community together, to tell the residents. We didn't want Dawson County telling them one thing and us telling them something different. So the election supervisor for Dawson County, Glenda Ferguson, and I got together and we talked about the best way to handle this. We talked to both of our attorneys. Phil said that the best way to handle it would be a joint resolution. Her attorneys and board agreed, so then we started working on it.
Yeah, I remember us talking about this earlier, but I wasn't sure if it was more in the election supervisor's offices or there was a confusion in the post office.
There's been confusion as far as the voters. Especially, people that move into Big Canoe that might possibly be renting instead of purchasing. they'll come, I know the last election, we had several people that had just recently moved, come to our office to register to vote, but they were on the Dawson side. So it's just something uniform that both counties can tell the voters of Big Canoe the exact same thing instead of them getting different messages. And with their mailbox being, or all the mailboxes for the entire community being on the Pickens side, I can understand where it's confusing to a lot of them.
Okay.
So my only comment is that I know I've seen, mainly this is through our church directory, I've seen residents of Big Canoe designate their city as Big Canoe, not Jasper. So I'm wondering if we're, like in the second paragraph where it says the mailing address for all residents of Big Canoe bearing an identifier of Jasper, Georgia. I really think it's either Jasper or Big Canoe, Georgia. But
We can, I can look into that.
Okay.
It seems, I've got something in the back of my mind that, I've seen that as well, but there was some sort of issue about that not being recognized.
okay,
I may be
Something
wrong.
about it not being an actual
Not an actual.
registered city or
Right.
something like that.
Zip code is probably.
Yeah, because the zip code is assigned to Jasper, so.
but
if-
I'll tell you, so our house, we live in Bigtree, but we are right on the border of Big Canoe. And if I just put our address in, and you know how it'll pop up,
Yeah.
how to fill in the rest of your
Mhm.
address on like a, if I'm ordering something somewhere, 9 times out of 10, it says Big Canoe, Georgia.
Mhm.
And then I have to change it to Jasper.
Right, and because I think like the postal designation for the zip code is Jasper, so.
Right.
I'll tell you what, when we send this over to Dawson County, we can ask them how they address that. If they use a Big Canoe address over there.
Right.
See what they, and if so, we can modify, we'll come back to y'all with the changes that they want as well.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so at this point in time, is there a motion to forward this over to Dawson County so that we can begin the process to enter this joint resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mike. Second. Becky, appreciate that. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next item under old business, item B, is the July 19th, 2022 board vote to have counsel to write an order to unseal the May 24th, 2022 primary ballots. This item is, as it basically says, something that was brought forth back in July as it pertained to the primary election. And at that time, the board, which I was not a part of, apparently took action to make the attorney write an order, but we also had the pending litigation going, and so both could not be happening at the same time, so the order didn't take place at that point in time. Technically, we are still sitting with that directive for the attorney to write an order, but we have since had the resolution from the lawsuit that was filed, which basically cleared that matter. So we still need to discuss or decide or vote on what to do with the original vote to unseal.
The original vote was to request that the county attorney write an order to unseal ballots for the primary for the governor's race and the Secretary of State's race on the Republican side. Once the general election took place, then they kind of backed off on it.
Okay. So what would be the next steps for addressing this item. That is still pending out there.
Can we make somebody make a motion to rescind it?
I make a motion, we rescind the request for the order to be written.
A second.
Okay, due to the fact that the general election already happened.
And you seconded?
I second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. It'll carry 3-1. All right. The next item on the agenda is new business, and we have Easy Vote software to discuss. Ms. Godfrey?
We currently use the Easy Vote software module for our check-in process and our absentee. We started using it in September of 2021, and it has worked very well for us. We went to a refresher course of the Easy Vote software back in April, and they gave us the information of other modules that we do not currently use that I thought was worth taking a look at. I know that during the February conference, there were several counties that used different companies to handle things like their tracking poll workers and reaching out to their poll workers and scheduling poll workers. And Terry had asked me if we had thought about using anything like that. This company offers a poll worker module. They offer a campaign finance module that would allow the county officials that have to turn in their campaign finance paperwork to me to do it electronically from their home. They wouldn't have to bring it into the office. They would be able to submit it all the way up until the deadline at 11:59 the night of, and it would automatically timestamp it for them. It would automatically put it on a website that we could direct open records requests to, that we wouldn't have to, go back and do the legwork of pulling the documents in for open records. We could just say, hey, it's here on this website, you can go view it there. Anybody in the county at any time could go to the website and look at the paperwork that had been filed by the candidate. So it has a lot of perks that we're not really using it for that we could be. The two that I've really looked at possibly that would work the best for us is the poll worker module. It lets us be able from our computer to send out a message that would text it to the poll worker's phone. So it just takes some of the steps out for us to have to deal with as far as communicating with, sends mass messages. But whenever I was talking to Greg Whitten, who is our rep for Easy Vote, I told him to get me the cost of what we pay now, get me the cost of what it would be to add these two modules individually, and get me the cost of what it would be for the entire suite. So we're currently paying $2,500 for the check-in and absentee module. Just to add the campaign finance module would be an additional $2,500. To add the poll worker module would be $3,000. So if we wanted to add both of those onto what we already have, it would be a total of $8,000. If we wanted to add one or the other, it would be around $5,000. But he told me that if we decided to do the entire suite, that they would do the entire suite for us, which includes all of the modules in the packet in your binders. But it would be $6,750 for the entire suite. And then we would be able to use anything in the modules, the existing module we have, plus any additional ones that the company offers. And we don't have to make a vote on it tonight. I just wanted y'all to have the information and tell you that it's something I was looking into. And if you want to do your research on it and us, bring it back to the table at the next meeting, we don't even have to add it this year. I just think it'll be beneficial in the upcoming election for next year.
Do we have it in the budget for this year?
We do have a line item in the budget, for this. I didn't happen to look and see, how much was left after we've paid them out of, what we owe them for this year, but I can do that and let you know.
And their quote, they have a one-time fee for the training.
That it would be to train our staff, on how to use the modules that we currently do not have. And as far as the campaign finance module, that would cover Greg coming up here for an entire day and having like different times set up for the county officials to come by and him to help them set up their login and password and show them, walk them through the steps of how to set up their campaign finance account and submit the paperwork to me. So that would include all of that.
Would this need to be something that he would do each year, so to speak, of an election? Because you would have different candidates.
It's just a one-time fee, and he would just come up here the one time, and then he would show me how to do it as well, and therefore, when we had new elected officials, I would be able to show them. The thing about us offering it this way is if we start doing it electronically, we can tell our county officials, like, we don't take paper copies anymore. It has to be done electronically. Or we can keep doing it, with paperwork being dropped off at the office. Either way, I've talked to a couple of the elected officials and asked them how they would feel about doing this. And they all said that they would be perfectly fine with doing it electronically. I know that one of the perks to doing it through the campaign finance module is if you filled out the paperwork one time, when you go back in, because a lot of it is redundant every time, a lot of stuff doesn't change, it pre-populates most of it for you, so it eliminates the time it takes for them to go through and fill it out if nothing changes for them.
Question.
That would also be involve candidates as well.
And
Yeah.
when would the next campaign reports be due? Would they be due in this calendar year or not till next year?
So it's different depending on when an election is, and what the forms are. If it is a PFDS, that's due once a year, a personal financial disclosure statement. If it is a CCDR, which if they've got campaign money in their account, then that has to be done twice a year unless it's an election. And then if you're running for office that year, you've got certain intervals that it has to be done so many times per year. So everybody's is different, really. Most people that are currently in office that are not in the middle of an election, they just have to do it once a year. If they fill out an affidavit not to exceed the $2,500 threshold, they don't have to fill out a CCDR because they've got the affidavit on file. So all of that paperwork can be done through the portal.
So here's the point of my question is, so it sounds to me like there are campaign finance reports that will need to be filed this year, that unless we decide to adopt this, they're gonna be paper again this year.
Yes.
Okay, that answers my question.
Mike, go
Okay.
ahead.
I was gonna ask, Stacy, you're saying the county officials, is this gonna extend into our municipalities as well as being able to use it?
They would be able to use it. If we decided to go with it, it would be a meeting that I would want to have with each of the clerks, because I would need buy-in from them as well. Right now, the city municipalities, they turn their paperwork into the clerks. The clerks file it, and then they just get me a copy of it. Whereas any county officials, they turn it into me, and I submit it on their behalf. So it would alleviate some of the responsibility on the clerks if everyone just uniformly had to turn it in to me, and then I would get them copies for them to have records of it. because it does need to have a copy in our office as well as the municipality, because at any given time, somebody can come in and ask at the municipality or my office to see a candidate's campaign finance records.
Okay, well, I know one clerk that's already interested.
I've spoke with Dawn, I have spoke with Tara, but not in length about it. I just have not got a chance to talk to Chelsea and Nelson, but like I said, it would take a responsibility off of them. And then the good thing for my office is right now, anything that is submitted through campaign finance, when I go to my login, I can't see anything submitted by the municipalities. I can only go and pull my paper copies of what they have sent to me. If it's all coming through my office and I'm submitting it at any given time, I can go in there and pull up what has been submitted, whereas right now I can't.
Right, so you could just get your copy the way you needed to, and then you would just get it to the municipality, the clerk themselves, and then, so they would get it through you, get what they need, using you as a proxy, if you will.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And what about,
To confirm the cost that you're talking about, that's annual?
So it would be $6,750 for the entire suite annually. And then they would charge the one-time training and implementation fee of $1,000. So if we were to wait until September, which is when our renewal hits, we would pay $7,750. And then from annually, we'd pay $6,750.
you think that,
And then this isn't like just gonna get us through 2024. I mean, I know that prices can change, but it's not like a sweet deal where they're gonna bump the price up to 12 grand in a couple of years.
No, we've been using it, like I said, for 2 years, almost 2 years now, and we're locked in at the price that we signed up for it. Nothing's went up. I mean, I can't say that it won't go up in the future, but I don't think that it will be like we will have a certain price for a year and then they're gonna go up astronomically.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like promotional offers or something to get you in.
Yeah, no, it wasn't promotional. I actually called him and said, give me the price of what it would be to add one of these, both of these, or the entire suite.
Right.
It sounds like the suite would be the best economic.
Yeah.
And make sure he has Pickens and not Jasper County.
Well, and then there may be other things in there that you can't see a purpose for now, but you could experiment with them and see if they're useful.
Yeah, and one of them, and I'll make sure I get you the copies of this as well, Mike, but one of the things is inventory. I mean, right now, everything that we keep up with in the office as far as poll workers, as far as inventory, we do it on spreadsheets. This would allow us, instead of using, one company for poll workers and one company for inventory, and we would have everything housed underneath just this one company using different modules.
Yep,
and so.
I would agree,
What,
but I
and
know
as,
we're not voting on it tonight, but I agree. I think that would be the best thing to go forward on, just get the whole suite.
so I have a question about security. So I see that it's all kept in the cloud. I guess where all of our data is kept now. I don't know. But anyway, so the modules that we currently have, it's on that same platform, correct? And so does our IT department here at the county look at that and say,
So,
yes,
like,
we agree that's secure, it meets our county
Yes.
standards and all of that?
For instance, they're rolling out a new version of Easy Vote. And we were told at the April meeting that would be coming up in the next couple months. I can't even go on and do the update myself. I have to have our IT come in and install the update. So yes, our IT looks at all of that.
Right, okay.
So they send you a disk and, or something to update our system?
It's actually, you go to click on the link, and it downloads it, but our IT has to do all of that.
Well, don't mess with our computers. Yeah.
And if y'all, like I said, it's not something that I expect us to vote on tonight. I just wanted y'all to have the information. If y'all want to look over it, any questions that you have about it, if you want to email them to me, I can email them to Greg Whitten and he can answer anything that I'm not able to answer. But like I said, it's something that I think we should consider, when we go to do our renewal in September.
Who will have access to this Easy Vote system?
So right now, I have a login, Rhonda has a login, and then we have a poll worker login. It's because this is what we're using.
Each poll worker?
No, it's just a general poll worker login. And underneath the different logins, I assign them what they can see and what they, can change. And under just the general poll worker login, all they can do is check people in for early voting.
And did you say at the very beginning of your presentation, Stacy, that there are other companies who have, I guess, competitive software?
Well, you had asked me after the
Right.
conference about the one that Cherokee County uses, and you asked me if we used anything like that. I'm not sure the one that Cherokee County uses, but I know we don't really have the budget that Cherokee County does.
Right.
Like, I know they do. The company that they use, they track their poll workers and schedule their poll workers, but they also do the poll worker training videos on there. I don't know that that's something that we would have the budget for, whereas this, we would.
Right, and you've been really happy with the modules that we already have.
The absentee, we wouldn't be able to work without it. I mean, I do not know how counties that don't use it get by with tracking their absentees, because we're able to put in the date that somebody requests an application. We are able to put in the date when the application is received by our office, when we mail out the ballot, when the ballot is returned. I mean, it has an entire field of just the questions about the ballot for us to track, when we received the ballot back, if it was approved, if the person came in and decided to surrender their ballot and vote in person. So it has been a lifesaver for us when it comes to absentees.
And it's part of it's not a part of the poll worker module, is it?
No, the absentee is part of the check-in module that we currently have. And it doesn't have anything to do with the poll worker.
And right now, with the current module, we have is $2,500.
Okay.
All right.
And
Great.
the check-in module, is it's not going away, but it won't be used as much from here on out, because we're going to check in with the poll pads for elections, but we will still be able to use it to double check to make sure that we have what's on the poll pad balances out with what we have in Easy Vote. It's just something that we'll end up doing on the back end in our office with staff, instead of poll workers checking in through Easy Vote.
And then you'll still have the absentee that you'll
Yes.
use, because that won't change with the poll
No,
pads.
and
Okay.
I asked about, if we didn't use the check-in, is there just the absentee model? But check-in and absentee is together, so.
I guess and you can maybe talk to Greg about this, but to me, the important thing is that you think it will help your office and that it will make
I
you
think it'll
guys more
streamline
efficient.
a lot of things.
And then I think about the training and just the time frame that it will take you to get used to it, and we got an election coming up next year. So it seems to me it might be beneficial to go ahead and buy it this year to give you guys time for the installation, the training,
And he did
getting
say,
comfortable with it.
he did say if we decided to go with it before our September renewal, that they would prorate the cost of it. So if the board decided, to make that purchase, then I could get the information of what they would prorate it for.
Well, I would like you to, I guess, suggest to us at the next meeting what the proper time frame would be for you, because you know your workload in the office better than we do.
And that way everybody has time to make sure they've looked through everything, and we'll get a copy of it to Mike so that he can look at it too. And I think obviously double checking our budget and making sure that if it's not enough to cover it in a particular line item, that we can make adjustments to cover it then, too. So, okay. Anything else about the Easy Vote software? Mike, anything?
For me, I'm good.
Okay, all right, appreciate that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is staff comments.
We're still trying to get adjusted to Jarvis. It seems like every time we feel like we've learned something, something changes. I went to a regional meeting in Bartow County last month, and they had someone from the Secretary of State, Rebecca Anglin. She was there to answer a lot of our questions about Jarvis. It didn't take off the way that they thought it would, but she said that when you build something from the ground up that nobody has ever done before, that's expected. They're rolling out fixes about every 2 weeks now. I think that they had said that they had hoped to have all the kinks, major kinks worked out by the end of May. I think she said May 4th is when they're gonna do another rollout. So we've quit printing the user manual because every time we printed it, something changed, and we're kind of just waiting. Just about every county in our region has the same frustrations that we have had. They answered a lot of questions. She left there from our meeting and went straight back to the Secretary of State's office. And before we left our meeting that day, the Director of Elections had contacted our liaison, regional liaison, and asked to speak at one of our upcoming meetings because they know how frustrated everybody is about it. It's not that it's not a good program. It's not that it doesn't work. It's just when you have someone building a program who has no experience in elections, it's kind of like when you put a person as a director of elections who's never worked in elections, and you've got to learn it. So these people are trying to learn our codes and our laws and put everything in. So it's been a hard road for the Secretary of State's office, for the county officials who are using it. But it's going to get better, they've assured us. So we're just slowly taking our time, still trying to fill it out, trying to learn things on it. But we're hoping that once they get everything worked out, they'll have another big training session like we did in January. Because the training session we had in January is kind of, obsolete now because they've changed so many things.
Out of date.
Yes.
This is the same one they were talking about March of last year.
Yes, that they wanted to roll out in March of last year, and then because of the election coming up, they put a hold on it and said, no, we're gonna wait. And then in January, they said, hey, February, we're going live with it. Which if they were gonna do it, I think it was better to do it on an off year where we didn't have a whole lot of elections like we did last year, because I could not have imagined us trying to hold the elections we held last year as well as learn this program. So hopefully they're listening. Counties, all 159 counties are sending their concerns every time, something doesn't work right. They're listening to us. They're trying to get everything fixed. But like Rebecca said, there's 159 of us. There's like 4 of them. So, they're doing their best. And we're just glad that somebody's listening to us.
Is there any major stopping workflow for you with this? Are you able to do some workarounds or?
Yes, we are, but like for instance, printing barcodes. Myself and Rhonda can print barcodes. Kay wasn't able to print barcodes. We changed her access. She still wasn't able to print barcodes. So I talked to Rebecca Anglin about it. It's something they had to go in on their end and fix because it wasn't anything on our end. Then like Kay's printed barcodes, but now the barcodes aren't scanning on some of them. So she's having to go back in and reprint barcodes. So it's just, there's some, like Rhonda had said in the last meeting, there's some barcodes that when they print out, it's got letters in them instead of numbers and it won't read it. So, they're, like I said, they're building it from the ground up, and I think it's gonna be, very good, very useful once it gets completed, but it just wasn't an overnight process like they thought it was gonna be. Like I said, I went to the training, regional training in Bartow County. We had Dominion was there speaking, and sadly, I have to say, our dear friend Mitch is moving. He got a promotion and will be moving out west, so he will not be my point of contact anymore when we have questions. But Fran said that whenever they got a replacement for him, that they would definitely let us know. I started my SERVA National Election Certification program. I will be going next week and taking 2 courses for that. It's a 12-course program. And then after that, it has continuing ed to keep up your membership every year. So that's something that I will be starting. And other than that, our office has been kind of slow as far as voter registration. We have a couple trickling in every day, but just not a ton. And we're mainly trying to get as much training as we can on everything that we can this year before we have the election next year. So that's really what we're focusing on during our slower time.
Any
Hey
other?
Stacy, on Jarvis, if we had an election next week, would you feel comfortable with the system?
Not where it is right now,
Okay.
because we've never done an election through Jarvis, so it's very new. And talking to the other counties who had an election in January and then one in March, there's kinks that they're working on that we've been assured that they're going to work out. As for example, absentees. If you have somebody who applies for an absentee ballot who lives out of state, like they're just temporarily at a vacation home or out of town, and wants that ballot sent to the temporary address, for whatever reason right now, Jarvis, when you go in and enter that address, it changes their voter registration address to that temporary address. And then if they decide, hey, I don't want to go, or I'm coming back in town, I want to go vote in person, and they show up, it's telling the poll worker that they're out of precinct because it's changed their address in the computer to the temporary address out of state. So it's little kinks like that they're having to get worked out. And I'm glad that we haven't had an election and had to go through that yet, and I'm hoping by the time that we have our November election, all of that's worked out.
Yeah, I would hope so. I guess we just keep on going. I just wonder if Secretary of State has a plan B if certain things are at issue, but let's just keep going forward. What choice do we have, honestly? But I'm hopeful that they'll get that kind of stuff. Because the last thing you guys need, and I know that we have municipals this year, so that's easier, but you don't need an extra burden.
Yeah, and I think that, like I said, the Secretary of State's planning on sending someone else to our next regional meeting, and hopefully they'll have more answers for us about the questions that we had at the last meeting and anything else that comes up as well.
All right, well, I know you'll keep us informed.
Yes.
Any other items from the office or staff, anything? Okay. All right, well, thank you for your update. Any public comments?
Oh, you left.
Allie didn't left. All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is board comments. Now Mike, you want to go first? Yeah.
Sure. I just tell everybody I know that things are a little slower right now, and enjoy it. because you know it won't stay that way, but you guys are always doing a great job. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Any other comments from the board?
This last section here, what's?
Oh, I'm sorry. At the last meeting that we had, Mike had emailed me and asked me a question about the legislation that was passed, and I just included a copy of it in each of your binders for you to take home with you. If you haven't saw it in full, then you've got a copy of it to have at home.
Okay, so these are all the election.
Those are the 3 bills that were passed during legislation, yes.
House Bill 572, Senate Bill 222, and Senate Bill 129.
Yes, pertaining to elections.
Okay.
So with regard to that, Stacy, is there anything in these bills that I guess is of concern to you and the way that your office will operate to comply?
I don't think so. I know that House Bill 572 has to do with campaign finance, and it puts a penalty on the person who has to file the paperwork, which would be myself if I don't do it in a timely manner like it's supposed to be done. So that was one of the ones that was passed.
So another reason to buy that campaign
I was going to say,
module.
another good reason for that software, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only thing, and let me say this about that. Before there was an electronic handshake between the Secretary of State and EasyVote, and when they submitted the campaign finance paperwork, it automatically sent a copy to campaign finance at the state. So therefore, the election official did not have to do anything. It was automatically done. Somewhere, and I don't know if it was legislation passed or what, but before we started using EasyVote, that electronic handshake was broken. So now it goes to the official who is in charge of submitting it, and then that person has to then upload it into the campaign finance website. But from everything I've read, it's supposed to be done within around 3 business days. So I think this is a penalty for people who are just sitting on it and not doing it at all or how they're supposed to. Right now, there's nothing that they can do to them, and with this bill, I think it implements a fine and other restrictions for it. And then Senate Bill 129 gives time off for advance voting. So I think that's great. I don't see any problem with that. And then Senate Bill 222 has to do with third-party grants. And we don't take any grants, so that really doesn't affect our office. So those were the 3 that were passed.
Is there a new risk limiting audit that has to be done?
So it is in one of the bills. It just states that where now, currently it said, or before it said that we do a risk limiting audit during a general election. Anytime there is someone from a state position on the ballot. The change in one of the bills, and Mike, do you remember which one I told you it was?
I'm sorry, I don't.
I think it's 129.
It says that after any election that has state races on it, we will have to do an audit. And I don't have a problem with that either, because our audits have came out, the way they were supposed to. So I think it just, helps ensure to everyone that what our tapes say and what we actually have, it's just another way of checks and balances.
Well, but it may impact our budget too for next year if you've got to do more audits than you've had to do in the past.
Well, we haven't started working on our budget for next year, and we'll be able to go ahead and kind of plan for that. Because with 2 audits under our belt, we've had a big one and we've had a small one. So we kind of know about what the right number is in between as far as number of audit teams that we need, so it's something that we can better prepare for next year than we could have this year, not ever having to do one.
It is, section 5, Senate Bill 129.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and before, we really budgeted for that because it wasn't a requirement unless the Secretary of State told us. But now, if we have to do it, then, we have to account for it in the budget. So that's good that you're already thinking about that.
All right. So the last item on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank y'all.